Hey guys, this is Jenn and Julien, and you're listening to X Appeal Season 2, Episode 8.
Yay! Welcome. So I know by the time this airs, the Johnny Depp, Amber Heard,
that will be
first of all, I know we're all sick of it, right?
Yeah.
You're sick of it. I'm definitely sick of it. We talked about it probably every single day for 3 weeks straight. On Extra?
Talked about it, on Extra,
Yeah. Because it was just like, it was fascinating for people to see this court case like play out on live TV, and just like all the internet memes that came out of it. I think it was crazy. And I watched the TMZ. There's like a TMZ documentary about it too. I watched that last night. I don't know why I'm so fascinated by it, but so everybody else is too. So whatever. So the one thing that I've noticed, and okay, for anybody who's not living in the world and is living under a rock, the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case, Johnny Depp won his defamation case, and I'm not saying that fans aren't allowed to celebrate that, okay, but can they celebrate like a little quieter? Because and follow me here. There's just like something about the mega pints and the hordes of fans like cheering him on while he's partying in London, chasing him around everywhere. I think we've all forgotten that he lost his case in the UK. So as far as the UK High Court's concerned, he did all that shit. Like, he's an abuser. But I think everybody here forgets it. And I know this is like an unpopular opinion, right? But I mean, as somebody, maybe I'm just speaking from the perspective of somebody who was, like a little psychologically abused by two men who have more money and more power than me. But for some reason, like, this just hits a nerve. I think there's something about the demonization of Amber Heard and the glorification now of Johnny Depp that bothers me. And I don't know if I'm the only one who feels that way.
I think you're more immersed in it because, like, for example, me not really paying attention to it and not caring, I've barely seen any posts or any celebration about it. Like, I've seen a few memes here and there that just made me chuckle, but I am not even remotely aware of people celebrating or anything.
Yeah. I mean, there's virtually, like, if you ask anybody, it is the court of popular opinion is heavily skewed in favor of that.
But then again, like, I think it might annoy you more than most people because you're in it way more, right? Like, the random person who works whatever in accounting in the middle of America, he's not necessarily he's not like bombarded with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. That's not his center of interest.
Yeah, but I mean,
you just see it more. So it might annoy you more than the average person.
I don't know. I think it's more than that. If we can have like a broader conversation about it, like really quickly, like I think that this is like a watershed moment in that this is where the Me Too scale is being tipped. Like, I almost feel like the reaction from people has been so extreme and so pro Johnny Depp and so anti Amber Heard that it's almost like this is backlash against the Me Too movement.
Well, yeah, but also if you look from a man's perspective, in the last few years, men are just scared to do anything because otherwise they're scared to be Me Too'd right away. Or I think it comes to a point where men are questioning. Good men are questioning defending themselves in case anything happens, right? Because it's like, I didn't do anything wrong, but because of everything happening and because of all these bad apples who, fucked over some girls, now what if I get Me Too'd for something that I didn't even do just because a girl decided to mess with me?
Yeah. I agree that men have really had to watch what they've said.
Yeah, and the fact that happened to Johnny Depp and that he is still okay and he did win his trial gives us a little bit of fairness in sense of like, okay, so not every case is going to be against us. If you are actually legitimately defending yourself, you can technically be, you're going to be okay, right? So So I think that's where it's tipping up, because there's a moment where everything was for Me Too, and it seems like men had no say in whatever, and now it's like tipping in a little bit. Like this one guy actually like was able to kind of get right now. Whatever he did, was that wrong? Yes, but it seems like it was in result of her. So
yeah, no, I think there is something to that. I think there's something there. And I knew it was going to happen eventually. I knew that there's going to be some event or some accusation that's the beginning of this swing in the opposite direction of the pendulum when it comes to the Me Too movement. And I think this was it. I really do. I'm wondering what's going to happen from here out. I mean, I know that
it's always like that. If you look at just politics too, right?
Yeah.
You make a huge step forward with, the main thing that comes to mind is like gay marriage, and now you have, certain states that go even more restrictive. So it goes one way and then it goes back, like where you make 2 steps forwards and then 3 back and then forward. So,
but I as a long story short or whatever, I do think that at the end of all this, what Me Too accomplished for women is significant. I mean, yes, okay, sure. There were sacrificial lambs on both sides. And I'm sure there were some men who got accused and of things they didn't do and were canceled unfairly for it. Yes, careers have been lost, lives have been destroyed on both sides. I sound like Donald Trump right now, but basically, whatever that took to kind of bring things back into perspective, and even if it makes one person more careful about what they say to a woman in the workplace, okay, then maybe it was all for a good thing. Maybe it was all for a good reason.
Yeah. To me, it's kind of like synonym to like America. It seems like it's very hard to find the middle ground. It's always both two extremes. At least what you see in the news. As much as I want to say probably 80% of the US population has a middle ground and is a little bit left, a little bit right, and they're like this and that. Yeah. All you see on TV is the super liberals or the super Republican, the super religious or the super
they're the ones with the biggest megaphones.
Exactly. The ones that are super pro-abortion, the ones that are super against it. They never showed like the middle ground people. So I think that's kind of like what you're saying.
And this is kind of a tangent, but you look at Matthew McConaughey, right? And how he made that plea in Washington.
Yeah, that was great.
About gun control. I thought it was great.
It was awesome.
He's trying to meet people in the middle. He went on Fox News. He went on, I think it was CNN. And some people were wondering, why would you ever go on Fox News? That's the smartest thing for him to do.
Yeah,
because he's trying to get people. He's trying to meet people where they live and try to bring both sides together and agree on something. Because if you don't, nothing's going to get done.
No, for sure. I only saw one meme of the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp thing that I actually thought was funny. It was saying Johnny Depp is the first man to ever win an argument against a woman. And I was like, that's fucking funny.
It's funny because there's some truth in that.
Yeah, I know. He won. That's crazy.
Yeah. All right. So now the reason that we're here in today's topic. So I was in the makeup chair with my colleague and my friend Rachel Lindsay. Mm-hmm. And she was telling me about how her friend Becca Kufrin, who was the former Bachelorette, she is proposing, or she already proposed to her now fiance. Okay. Thomas, what's his name? Thomas Jacobs.
Okay.
And I thought that's kind of a cool thing to do a podcast on in general, because she is flipping the script when it comes to traditional ideas of maybe marriage, engagement, children, even. And we kind of got into this like debate, and it never even occurred to me. This is how little I think about this. It never even occurred to me that, I could propose to Jared if I wanted to.
Yeah. I think wasn't there a movie made?
I can't. What?
There's a movie that was made. Was it Leap Year?
I don't know.
I remember there was a movie where like leap year is like that 1 year every 4 to 5 years. We have more days or something. It's like a specific year, and
that's a leap year. Yeah.
And I think it's like that one time where I think when it's Scotland or whatever, where women are allowed to propose. I remember seeing that movie.
So you can look at this like, oh God, so many different ways. I mean, and this is why I want to talk to you about it, because I know that you're very non-traditional when it comes to marriage and engagement and like, you know, male female roles in a relationship.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to pick your brain on that. Like, what do you think about the idea of a woman proposing to a man?
I'm not mad at it.
Okay, I knew you wouldn't be.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it.
I knew it.
You know,
it's almost like the less responsibility that a man can have in the relationship, the better it is for you.
It's not about that, but I feel like we're constantly pushing for equal rights, for equal this, and women is as good as men, and they can get paid the same as men, and all that stuff. But then when it comes to romantic stuff, we want to keep it old school, like in the 40s. I don't understand it. It makes no sense. It's the same thing as when we say a man should be paying for everything. No, in the 40s, women didn't work. In the 20s, women didn't work.
Yeah.
So now why would a man pay for every single thing if a woman is working and she's just stacking up on the side?
Well, we're not. I don't want to get.
I know. It's not about that, but it was just like it goes back to that. It's all part of the same thing.
So then, let me ask you this: what would happen then with the ring? Because I would feel weird, asking my boyfriend to get a ring or encouraging him to get a ring, and then only for me to propose to him. Like that to me sounds like a little, I don't know, put upon. Like you're forcing yourself.
I think
forcing yourself on someone.
I mean that. Well,
and you're forcing them to drop a lot of money.
No, but here's the thing. I think the type of woman who is comfortable with getting down on one knee and proposing to a man is most likely the type of woman who's also comfortable buying the rings. I don't think a woman's going to propose. Rings? I think so. I think it goes in hand. I don't think a woman's going to propose and then say, hey, can you buy the ring? Huh?
Men don't wear engagement rings.
They don't?
They wear wedding rings.
Oh, yeah.
So what, you're going to buy an engagement ring for yourself?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No, I mean, no, that doesn't work.
You're not.
That doesn't work. Well, maybe. Okay, so what about just getting engaged and not wearing a ring and then waiting for the wedding rings?
See, that I wouldn't be opposed to.
I mean, again, why drop money on one ring that then you're not going to use if you're going to have another one?
Well, the idea is you stack them on top of each other and it's like double the diamonds. Yeah, ideally, if you're not a cheap ass. But I think I think it's something that I've never even thought of before. And to me, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Because I would feel a little bit hollow, if that makes sense. You know, and then on top of that, what if, but you better talk about it then beforehand. Because what if the guy makes all these plans only to have them all spoiled when the woman proposes?
Oh.
You have to talk about those roles in the relationship and how you want things to be. If you want to go completely non-traditional, or if you say, all right, whenever you're ready, you propose, dude.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
No, I mean, listen,
I don't know how to play that.
I hear you. I think from a guy's point of view, the idea of getting proposed to is probably going to be weird for most guys, as much as it gives us this idea that we're wanted, right? Because ultimately, that which feels nice, and I think guys kind of lack this like feeling of say, hey, my woman wants me. But when it comes to the dynamic and the ring, and if you want a ring, again, I think it comes back to no traditional couple will do that. It has to be a couple that's been already.
Yeah, so if you're going to go non-traditional, start to finish. Then you don't include rings in the engagement.
Yeah, they're probably
save it for the wedding.
Exactly. It's I think it's different type of people, and they probably don't care about all the traditions And yeah, so
Also, by the way, they're each changing their names, which I think is fucking fabulous.
if the woman proposes,
they're hyphenating. They're going to hyphenate.
So how does that sound? You have both names?
So, for example, I would be Jennifer Lahmers Keller.
Okay, and he would be
Jared Lahmers Keller or
okay.
Jared. Yeah, it would be the same thing. I think it'd be uniform. I don't think it would be like, you'd switch off.
But that you could do it as much.
If they have kids, they'd be hyphenated.
You can do it if the man proposes, right? That doesn't change anything, right?
Yeah, I mean that's also an option.
Yeah.
But that part of it I agree with. Only it is confusing, but I agree with it in that it's always up to the woman. See, that to me is like a screaming example of the idea that when a woman gets married, she has to give of herself. Like she's the one who's got to make those sacrifices and make that big change because she is owned, so to speak, by the man. You take the man's name.
Yeah, but you agree to it.
Yeah, but you don't have to, is what I'm saying. You don't have to.
But so that's part of that.
Rethink it.
So that's exactly part of the mentality. It's like you say you want a traditional man and it meant to propose to you, which is somewhat traditional.
Yeah.
Then you don't want to obey the traditional rules of changing your name.
No, I would change my name. I would change my name. And I don't have just so we're clear, I don't take issue with that. I'm saying that's what it's rooted in. Like it's rooted, the whole name change is rooted in the issue of female subjugation and like, the man kind of, the woman is the property of the man. That's what it's rooted in. That's not to say, to me, I want to keep it easy. It's going to be complicated enough because I'm not going to change my name, my maiden name for TV. So legally, I would be Jennifer Keller, but on TV, I would still be Jennifer Lahmers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not the kind of person who's going to read into it. I'm not up for making any kind of like grandiose, societal statements with my marriage.
Yeah.
For her that she is, and I do applaud that because that's like a complete and total rethinking of how we go about marriage.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm still questioning marriage on a daily basis and what's the point of it. So, if you think about it, if marriage didn't exist, we wouldn't be having these, oh my God, who should propose? If it's right, if the woman proposes, the man proposes. It's just like.
Yeah, but, oh man, I don't know. I do think there's got to be some kind of, you have to have some kind of rules. And not that marriage is a rule, but like, otherwise, then we can just be free people and come and go as we please and do whatever we want and break hearts and move along and leave kids confused and like, who's my daddy? And, like there's you gotta have some obligation to something, I mean,
even with these rules, you got a ton of kids that are like, I don't know who my daddy is. So those rules clearly.
That's why Maury Povich has been in business for the last, 80 years.
Yeah. But again, it's just, I don't think marriage and all that stuff change anything. It's just the person that you're with. But
yeah. But listen, like to Becca and to Thomas, I applaud both of them for going that route and exploring those options when a lot of people would choose not to.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe they'll find a way to make it work, and it might inspire more women to do it. It's definitely something that I think is courageous of her to do, and I think I'd be interested to see how it plays out in terms of like how do they do it? Like, do they do engagement ring? Do they not do engagement ring?
Let me tell you something. I remember whenever I got divorced, changing my married name back to my maiden name was an utter ass ache. It really was. Like standing in line again at the DMV, like you have to present all these documents then, like the court decree, where the judge signs off on you changing your maiden name back. Like you have to show so much proof. And I was just thinking to myself, my ex-husband doesn't have to do any of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I really do love the idea of both people having to change their name. It's a small step. It's a small step for man, but a big step for womankind, I guess.
What about nobody changes their name?
Yeah, that's something else. Why are we changing our names? Yes. Why can't we just keep our
Just
original names.
you could technically get married and still be called Jen.
I think so. Right?
Might as well do that. No,
might as well.
That way you don't have to change anything.
Yeah, at all.
I mean, if you really think about it,
like that, Julien. I'm not kidding.
In the grand, when you look at life, I think this is so meaningless.
What, the conversation about changing your name?
Yeah. It's like life itself, right? Sometimes.
Oh shit!
Did
you smoke weed before this podcast?
No, but I did yesterday, so I get inspired. But when you think about all this, it's just we're just here to live. When you really
and then what do we do? We're just on this big blue dot.
Yeah. So why are we having all these goddamn rules?
Why do we even have a podcast? Why do we have a podcast? Why do we have
to live better and make some money? It's about living better, not harder.
Yeah.
There he goes. That should be a new tagline.
Live better, not harder.
There's something that changed for me in the last few weeks. I don't know what, but I've been turned off by kids.
What do you mean?
I've always was looking forward to having a kid, and I think I'm seeing some of my friends dealing with their kids, and I'm like, I hate them. I'm just
Come over and meet my little muffin. You're not going to be turned off from kids.
It's not about kids. I think I get turned off by how the parents become.
Well, that's the listen. You can only be as crazy as you drive yourself. That's it. If you want to let it get to you, then okay. And also, by the way, even before you felt this way about kids, parents were still parents. It's just maybe now you're getting a bigger slice of it because they're complaining to you.
It's not not even complaining to me. It's not about complaining to me. It's like if we're all at dinner and the kid is having dinner with us and you're trying to have a conversation with one of the parents, it's impossible.
You can't.
It is impossible.
Yeah. Well, because you have
this little fucking human needs so much attention constantly. Yeah. And I'm just I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think me as a person, I have enough compassion to not look at my baby and be like, shut the fuck up. Let me talk.
Every dad says shut the fuck up, by the way. Every dad has looked their baby dead in the eyes and it says, shut the fuck up.
I don't want to do it right now. I realize I definitely don't want to do it. I still want
maybe not right now.
Play my PS4.
Maybe once you've accomplished some things that you want to accomplish, that way you won't feel resentful about anything. Because I will say this.
Yeah.
Ethan has changed my life completely. My free time is not free time anymore.
Yeah.
I have no free time. I go from, full-time job straight to being a mom at home. Yeah. And that's every day until around 6 or 7 at night. It's only going to get worse because the older he gets, the more he's going to want to stay up.
And then what happens after when he goes to bed? You turn into what?
And then I just drink.
Wow. So man is totally forgotten.
I don't drink. I really don't. I haven't had a glass of wine in weeks. But
it's hey, let me say something from a man's point of view. It's crazy. You say all I do is work, and then I turn into a mom. You never turn into a wife or into a girlfriend.
You're gonna have to have that conversation with Jared because he's. You're
gonna lose him.
No, we're hey babe, we're ring shopping. We're ring shopping.
I hear you, but this is how divorce and cheating happen.
Oh yeah, no, babies definitely are the number one cause of divorce.
It's not babies, it's women.
It's not what?
Yeah, it's women and parents.
It's not women.
It's
not women.
It is moms becoming moms and forgetting to be wives or girlfriends, and it is dads and forgetting to be lovers.
You have no idea. First of all, as a childless man, you cannot say those words because once you're a mom, it's kind of like you have, first of all, you have no choice. And the bond that you feel with your baby is something that you can't explain to anybody else. It is a physical, chemical, emotional bond that you really have no control over. So I don't even think, even if I had the chance, I would not be bonded with this baby. So yeah, I mean, it's something that happens because you want it to happen, but it's also something that you have no control over. And for the woman to be wrapped up in that, at least for the first few months, I mean, you have to understand that that's something that is just like that's nature working itself out.
I hear you, but from a couple standpoint, the man turns from lover to worker and dad. The mother turns from lover to worker and mom. There's no more lover relationship between your couple. How can this couple work? So you might be great parents. I hear you, but most relationship, that's what it is. I've seen it with my dad and his girl. My dad's girlfriend was everything he wanted. And then as soon as she had her baby, she forgot to be a woman and all she did was be a mom. And then what happened? 3-4 years later.
No, I don't like when you say that, Julien, because she forgot how to be a woman. Being a woman is being a mother.
She forgot how to be a wife then.
So what does it mean to be a wife?
It means to have a relationship with your partner other than motherhood. Because your attention shifts from your man to your baby. There's nothing left for the man. And vice versa. The man's attention shifts from the baby and work.
But I feel like when you say that, there's like judgment and blame that you're imposing upon the woman. And that's not fair. Because we as the women, we're the ones who get overtouched. We're the ones who get grabbed on. We're the ones who get overtouched as far as like we're providing food for our babies. So yeah, like wanting to be touched in that way outside of that is not something we're interested in. It's just not. And like we're the ones who have to get up and feed the baby at all hours of the night. We're the ones whose bodies go through fucking hell to have a baby. Like gaining all this weight and then being expected to lose it all right away and look good for our men.
But you did it.
And to be sexually desirable. Yeah, it didn't come without emotional trauma, though. Let me tell you, I hated the way I looked whenever I looked in the mirror. And I'll just tell you this:
no, you're fine. But again, it goes both ways. That's what I'm saying. The men shouldn't also let themselves go as soon as they have a baby. They should still.
But see, like I think a little bit of compassion would go a long way. Like, yeah, I mean, the man's going to be exhausted. He's not going to feel like going to the gym at all. And by the way, I think any man who's like ripped to shreds after they have a newborn, you're just not there for your kid. You're just straight up not, unless you were in killer shape beforehand. Because I know that Jared, he was up all night, every single night while I was recovering from surgery. He did not have a spare second to get to the gym, to focus on himself, to eat properly. Yeah. So it maxes out both parties. If you're an attentive father, it maxes out both people.
I understand. I'm not talking about 3 months postnatum. I'm talking about your kid is 1. You guys have this thing figured out. And I still think that, and again, it's easier for me to say because I'm not in your shoes, but just seeing at successful long-term relationships and the one that breaks, it's always the same thing. It's always the same CD that plays. It's always...
No, I do agree that is...
You didn't have sex anymore from a man or from a woman's point of view.
But I'm glad that you're saying that, because I feel like that conversation is the reason that people split up, because for some reason you have a baby and your world is turned upside down and you are expected to think, well, no, things should be normal. I should have a sex drive. Let me tell you something. All the moms that I've talked to we're talking like 6 months, even sometimes a year out from delivery, they still don't have their sex drive back.
The ones
that's a very normal thing
than before.
Yeah, that's a very normal thing to go through. But I think if we normalize that and understand that there are different ways to navigate around that and have a little bit of patience with it, then maybe you'll see some marriages save themselves, because that's the issue, right? Like intimacy it becomes a big problem after delivery. So I'm glad you said that, because I feel like
because again, like we have couples.
Not everyone's the same.
That have kids and the kids 2 or 1 and they still have sex 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Still going strong. So everybody's different.
Yeah, and everyone's different. Everyone's different. But I do think there are way more women who lose their sex drive completely after delivery than are admitting to it. Because there is
possibly.
Because I'll tell you this, like for the longest time, I didn't want to say anything to Jared because I was really worried about what he would say. Like, would he feel like this is a hopeless situation now? Like what's gonna happen to our relationship? You go into like panic mode and self-preservation mode because you're thinking like, oh shit, I don't want him to think that this is like the end of our sex life because I had a baby and now like for some reason I just don't have that anymore. Like it's really hard for women to go through.
No, but again, and I think there's multiple aspects to that. You have the sex part, but you have also just the relationship part.
Yeah.
I mean, can you agree that turning fully into a mom and forgetting to be a lover, and turning fully into a dad and forgetting to be a lover to your wife is an issue?
Oh, it's 1,000% an issue.
Now,
yes.
Do you have control over it? For example, if we take you, I understand that you have your baby. It's like this incredible bond, and that's all you want to do, and it's just nature. But I do feel like it's important to remind yourself that yes, you have a baby, but you also have, and I'm only talking to you because you're a woman, you also have a man who's with you doing this that also needs attention. And him too. He also needs to know that yes, he's a dad. He needs to provide. It's work and baby. But he also needs to be here and also needs to be a lover.
Yeah, I think it's something that, you know, if anybody who's listening to this, I encourage them to have that conversation with their partner. I really, really do. If you don't, then you're headed towards bigger problems down the road.
Yeah.
The less you talk about it, the bigger the problem's going to become. I think that once I started talking to Jared about like those kinds of feelings, like I don't want you to panic about this, but like I'm just not in the mood anymore. Nothing about the way that I feel about you, the love that I have for you has changed. If anything, it's grown. But it's just like, it's real hard when you look in the mirror and your body looks different and you feel like you are living in somebody else's skin.
Yeah.
And there's no timetable on when that feeling goes away. For me, it's still going away. I might look like I did before pregnancy, but I still don't feel like I do.
So then how do you balance that? Because when is a good time for the man to be, I understand it, but it's been 4 months and I haven't been intimate with the mother of my child that I want. So where do you draw the line, as in you as a person respect how you feel and the fact that you don't want necessarily to be touched or be intimate with your partner, but also understand that your partner needs that from you?
Yeah.
Where do you draw that line?
Because a lot of it isn't necessarily about sexual gratification for a man. It's about like feeling desired by their partner, you know? But so there are other ways you can express desire for somebody without sex being on the table. And
I'm talking about the sexual desire. Then how do you, for a man, obviously it is easier. The man doesn't go through the changes and the man is just, you know, it's
not just, I wish I could say it was just like tied strictly to the way you look at the way you feel about yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror. It's not that. It's something deeper than that. And truth be told, this is something that I'm still like a little worried about and still exploring and like reading into. There's not much material out there about it, but I know there's a lot of women who have these conversations and they just kind of sit on their hands and like wait it out and pray that it comes back. And it's coming back in spurts, like, okay, but not nearly what it was before. And I have heard a lot of Jared's friends, a lot of his dad friends have the same complaints and they get really frustrated and depressed and down on themselves because they feel like there's no like spark or desire or anything like that anymore. So
what's the solution? Because you have to admit that as much as it's not the woman's fault, it's also a terrible situation to be in.
Because it's not the woman's fault doesn't mean it's not a problem. I get that.
Sure. Yeah. But so how do we deal with that?
I think the best way to deal with it would be to just keep on talking it through. And like what Jared and I have done, I first of all, like I know that a big part of my self-esteem is tied in with the way I look, like sexual self-esteem, whatever. I want to feel desirable. So I've been working out more and like watching what I've been eating. So whatever kind of makes you feel like your old self, whatever that might take, if it's, I don't know, therapy, if it's being outside, like whatever it takes to get you back to your original headspace might be like the first baby step in getting back to how you were sexually before you got pregnant and delivered. I think it's just an incredibly difficult time for a couple. I heard something like 70%, and I don't even know if this is true, but
You hear that?
one of the books that I read
Uh-huh.
said something like 70% of divorces happen because of babies, essentially. Like that
I'm not
first
surprised.
year.
I'm not
That
surprised.
first year is just
It-
incredibly difficult.
and it describes exactly what I'm saying. It has to come from that. It has to come that.
Yes, because there's a major disconnect. There's a
And there's
huge
a major
disconnect.
shift, like you said, right?
Yeah, it's a life shift.
The woman turns into a mother,
Yeah,
right? So as a
you
man,
do. Your identity now is like so.
mother.
Yeah, for example, I'll tell you this. I went out with my girlfriends until 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
This was like what a couple of weeks ago, and it was with a friend who I hadn't seen in forever. It was just one of those like magical nights where everybody was like in the mood to go out and stay out.
Yeah.
Went to a diner and for a couple of hours. That ate up a big part of the night. So I came back and yeah, I was like still drunk, definitely. Woke up the next morning at 7:30 when Ethan starts crying, was still a little buzzed.
Yeah.
And I got a little shady face from Jared the next day, and it's almost like you can't be doing that anymore because you're a mom.
I don't agree with that. I don't think so.
But
That's why you have a partner. He covers for you to have fun.
He did, and he did. He covered. He's like, I don't have a
Vice
problem with you
versa.
going out with your girlfriends. He's like, but like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I get it. I barely did that before I had kids.
Yeah.
But there's an identity shift that goes on when you do become a mother. But you also have to remind yourself, like, that doesn't mean that your life is over. That doesn't mean that, you can't do things that you once used to enjoy.
So just like think about this, right? So think about you are with a man for about, let's say, 2 years. Okay. This man has a relationship with you, right? You guys have a relationship, and usually, the main person is your man, right? So it's like it's for him. It's like, oh, we have dinner, we do this. In a couple, the man does stuff for his woman, and the woman does stuff for the man, right? And then you have regular sex, and it's all about this. All of a sudden, within that relationship, you take it out. So now there's nothing for the men anymore, right? The entire attention has been focused on the child. Obviously, that will take a toll on, and I'm only talking because you're a woman, I'm a guy, so I'm talking from a guy's point of view. It's going to take a toll. It'd be like, it was about me for
like you're
about
taking
2
seconds,
years,
like back burner to the baby.
And now I understand we have a baby, and it should be about 70% baby, but there's not even 30% me. It's 100% baby. And I think
there's a responsibility on the woman's part too, on the mother's part to not you still have to, you can't abscond your responsibilities as a wife or a girlfriend as well. You have to be present for your partner. Like
that's what I was saying, but then you're looking at me like, what? Crazy.
No, it was because you said it's always the woman, it's the woman's fault. The woman, forgets that she's a wife and is.
I told you the man does the same thing, because also just like the woman has to like be all about the kid. The man, usually speaking, you're working, so it's different. But usually the man has to be about providing, and now his brain is about providing to.
So that's exactly yes.
Two people now. So all his focus is work.
Yeah.
So the woman feels left out as well. Equally
in some way. I can't speak for all women, but I will say that pregnancy was by far the biggest shift and the toughest thing that I've ever gone through physically. So I will say that, like, I know that Jared's got to do what he's got to do to get by, to provide. I know that he has to work like weekends and overnights, and he was working at three different hospitals at one point to make more money. So I get that. Even though we don't spend that much time together, I still understand that, like, these are the sacrifices that we now have to make because we are parents, even though it wasn't anything that we had planned on, and kids weren't even a conversation before we had Ethan. But, like, this is the reality of it. And this is what both of us have to do, because both of us, and we both agreed, number one priority is Ethan. Number two priority is us. We're going to be just fine. But the number one priority is just getting Ethan to where he needs to be to set him up for a happy, healthy childhood. You know?
Yeah. This is after that different conversation, but like, is a home for a kid better if the relationship's parents is strong? You know, some people could argue we put ourselves first as lovers because our bond is, and how in love we are with each other is what makes this home a happy place for our kid. And some other people will say we put our kid first because it's them before everything, and we will deal with that after. It's
that's a really good question, and I could talk about that for a whole other
episode. We can, but I always come back to close it up. I always come back with, when I look at my dad's latest girlfriend before she had her kid and after, it's like it's gonna sound so bad, but it feels like he got scammed. Like it's insane. It was, you know, the gym before, the makeup, great hair, the nails constantly done, all that stuff. Once the baby arrived, and still years later, nothing.
If it's years later, that could be a problem.
You know,
the same way, like if the guy, you know, turns into like a fat slob, you know what I mean? Like after you're married for a few years, and it's like, okay, well, what about?
Goes both ways. It goes both ways.
It goes both ways. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, I think that's a problem, but I'm just saying the first year, buckle up, because there are no rules, and you're literally treading water at that point.
So I'm definitely not ready for this. I thought I was, but I'm definitely not ready for this.
Come over and babysit Ethan for a few hours.
No, ready. Thank you so much.
He's a fucking angel. All right. Until next time.
All right.
A Huda Media Production.